Distinctive brewing. When you're out in the town every Friday night enjoying a couple cold ones with your friends, have you ever wondered how that beer you're holding was brewed? What type of ingredients go into creating a specific brew? And how all those ingredients mix together in the right way to make it taste so delicious? What you probably don't realize is those particular questions have already been asked and answered repeatedly for thousands of years. As stated in Franz Mussdorfen's Starchy Raw Materials, brewing has been a human activity ever since the beginning of urbanization and civilization in the Neolithic period. Beer has been made in ways and beer has made its way into hearts and cultures of people all around the world, and today its prevalence only continues to increase. Today I'll be showing you something we've all secretively wanted to do ever since high school. I'll be showing you how to brew your own beer. My first step in brewing beer is to determine what ingredients and components will be going into your beer. In every beer recipe you'll throw in a wide arrangement of ingredients to give your beer a specific appearance, scent, and flavor to make your beer unique. You'll find the main four components of beer to be water, malted barley, starch, and yeast. While watching the informative DVD Basic Brewing, I found out that the main four components may vary in quality, but are still reliable. You'll find that not knowing what you put in for water can ruin your beer. You'll want to make sure that you have the purest water possible, because a lot of the city water contains high amounts of sulfur and iron, which can potentially damage your beer. So as stated in Basic Brewing, if you don't know what's in your water, you might want to be better off going to the store and buying deionized water. You can also add ingredients to those four main components to design your beer a specific taste to your liking. By adding extra hops, brewing sugar, rice syrup, and many other options, this just changes the bitterness to more of a sweet component and just kind of blending it to your own specific likings. Steve Wilkes from Basic Brewing also told me to be adventurous, add specific grains, spices, fruits, chocolate, and even go out as far out as garlic just to give it a different flavor. The smallest things can alter your beer's flavor in the best way. When brewing beer, you can be creative and adventurous with your ingredients, but this isn't the same case for your equipment. The equipment you will be using has two function as one of the components I will be listing. An error in the equipment can result in a spoiled beer and or accident. My second step of the brewing beer is getting the right equipment. It's good to determine what you need and where to find it. As stated from www.howtobrew.com in the article by John Palmer, How to Brew, proved that the list of items you will need to be successful beer brewer are an airlock, which goes on the lid of the fermenter. It helps prevent contamination. Boiling pot, it's got to be either aluminum or stainless steel, usually between 3 to 5 gallons. A fermenting pail, this is usually just a plastic pail that's food grade quality. A Pyrex measuring cup, it's just got to be glass heat resistant. Siphon with a racking cane, this is just a siphon that helps transfer from one fermenting pail to another. Stirring paddle, once again, it's going to either be plastic or wood. It's got to be food grade. And a thermometer, this has to range from just the degrees of 40 degrees to 170 or 180. And most of these items you can find on the internet or on your local brewing store. After watching Basic Brewing, I knew the key things about equipment is to make sure that the you're sanitary before using. Any unsanitary equipment can alter the beer's flavoring, which can potentially ruin it. As shown in the DVD Basic Brewing, in the steps of sanitizing your equipment, you can just put 2 ounces of bleach in with 5 gallons of water and just let whatever equipment you need to submerge in there or soak in it for about 30 minutes. And once you get all your equipment sanitary and prepped to start, you are now ready to start the next step. The third and final step of brewing beer is the starting the process. This is where all the organization and preparation pays off. This process can be kind of tricky, but if you follow the steps, you'll do fine. I found all the information from my informative video of basic brewing directed by James Spencer. You'll start the process by putting the pot on the burner. This is usually the 5 gallons of water. You turn the burner all the way up and put in your thermometer. And after you get that all settled, you'll want to prep the grains before you put them in boiling water. The grain's main component or main purpose is to add flavoring, color, and texture to your beer. And to prep these, you just want to take them in the bag they are, do a rolling pin over top of them, take that, make sure all the shells are cracked open so they can release their flavor, put it in with the cheesecloth, and once you get that, make sure you just submerge them in the water and drip it over the edge and put the lid on it. Just watch the temperature so it doesn't exceed the temperature of 170 degrees Fahrenheit. If you do, you'll find that the shells break down and start to form kind of particles likes in your beer. It is now time, after you take those out, to add the malt extract, and you make sure that you just want to stir it in so it doesn't settle in the bottom. The malt extract purpose is a sugar-based product which the yeast eats and turns into alcohol. And once the malt extract is dissolved, you want to add in the hops and stir them for a couple minutes. After those couple minutes have passed, then the boil will gradually just kind of turn them for itself. And you're going to want to let these sit for about an hour, and then after that hour you're going to turn down the burner and let them cool for down to about 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The easiest way of doing this is just to have a thermometer in the pot and submerge into an ice bath and just to gradually stir just to decrease the temperature. Once it's cooled down to about 75 to 80 degrees, you can now transfer it into a fermenting pail. This process is just you put the strainer in the fermenting pail to prevent any leaves or particles to get into your beer. Once you get it in the fermenting pail, you want to put on the lid, shake it around, get some oxygen in there. The purpose of this is to make sure that you have a lot of oxygen in there, because that's what helps the yeast eat sugar, but it also eats the oxygen to turn it into alcohol and CO2. So you're just going to attach the airlock to the fermenting pail lid and let it sit for a couple days. And after these couple days has passed, you'll now start the second fermenting cycle. This happens so you don't get all that yeast or dead yeast sitting in the bottom of your pail. You don't want that to be bottled up in your beer. So this process you're gonna ideally transfer from one to another using the racking wand. The racking wand you're gonna fill up with water, and then that water is going to be dumped out into the second fermenting pail, which is going to kind of make kind of a siphon. It's just going to get a current built up, so then you can transfer from one to the other. And you're just going to get all the liquid out of the second fermenting pail. And once you've finished this step, you want to put the lid on the second fermenting pail with an airlock on it, and you'll have to leave this in a dark area for a couple weeks. And once you get in the fermenting, or once you let it ferment for its designated time, you can now start the bottling process. Before you start that, you're going to want to add in some dextrose, which is corn syrup, which this will help your beer get more of a better carbonation, so that you'll get a little bit better foam. And once again, I got all this information off of my informative DVD of basic brewing. So brewing your own beer, in my opinion, is like creating a type of edible art that you can be proud of and also utilize in your day-to-day life. You now know that it's not as hard as the process. You gather the necessary equipment, decide which types of ingredients to use, and develop an organized brewing process. I hope that my presentation of the process was helpful and inspiring, that as you consider brewing it yourself, as Ben Jonson of the 14th century, which is a dramatist or a poet, once said, "As he brews, so shall he drink." I will leave you with my opinion and interpretation of the quote, "As we drink, so shall we brew."